Welcome back to yet another episode of the Current Review. My name is Thamsanqa Tu, sometimes known as TT, sometimes known as Chairman. Today we have the privilege of exclusively having a conversation with Mayibuye Bangani, the Provincial Secretary of the ANC Youth League in the Free State Province. As the province faces critical decisions and restructuring within the Executive Council of Government, the voices of young people are more crucial than ever, especially now that it seems that they are being ignored, in the levers of power. We will delve into the ANC Youth League stance on the recent developments, their reaction to the composition of the Executive Council, and the broader implications for youth involvement in governance. Mayibuye, I don't want us to waste a lot of time. I think let's just delve right into it. I hope you are well this morning in this very cold province of ours. It seems, Mayibuye, that you guys have two, when we talk about initial reactions, your initial reaction to the composition of the provincial government was a welcoming one. A few days later, you are singing a different tune. What is the actual response of the ANC Youth League to the composition of the Provincial Executive Committee of the government?
No, good morning, Mr. TT. After a very long time since we got a platform to engage in this in the Central News. And let me also greet all the viewers in the Central News and everyone who's watching currently, and young people generally in the Free State and across the country. Mr. TT, I think that you will have learned the cultures and the tradition of the organization. That immediately when the president was sworn in and elected as a president in the National Assembly, even before he can announce his cabinet or everything, including when he appointed his cabinet, the first thing that all leagues and structures and alliance, what they did, they congratulated the president and the cabinet that was appointed. So we have a responsibility to congratulate the premier that is elected in the Free State and the ESCO. And if you have read our statement, people are also noting our statement of congratulation. We have made it very clear in our statement, if you can read it, that we congratulate the ESCO that has been appointed by the Premier of Free State. But then we are unhappy with the exclusion of young people in her ESCO. That was our point, which is not being discussed and noted. Seems like we just congratulated the ESCO. We have said it that we are unhappy with the exclusion of young people in that ESCO.
I hear you, my brother, that but your may I say your unhappiness was not as pronounced as it is now, because it is well and fine to say congratulations, Premier, for being appointed and elected as the Premier of the Free State. We are happy that you are beginning to do work. But where are young people? I think that question was not more pronounced. That's why people are receiving you as though now you are being pressured from elsewhere to make this kind of demands that you're making now.
No, thank you, Comrade. Thank you, Mr. Titi. Mr. Titi, you remember that the communication that deal with statement with the office of the provincial sector, the provincial secretariat, they are not mandated to dwell in details. That's why we had to convene the Provincial Executive Committee now to dwell in more details and to get a proper mandate as and when we go out, what is it that we must communicate on behalf of the structure with a clear direction. So people must understand the truth again. When you communicate without an executive that mandated you, there are other things that you cannot say because it must be a collective view and collective wisdom to say, we're mandating the structure and this is our resolution as collective of the Provincial Executive Committee. So those were other things that needed to be resolved. That's why we've convened our Provincial Executive Committee, which was on Friday, and we discussed several other issues, and I'm hoping that you will ask them, including why we feel that Comrade Zama must be appointed as an MEC in the Free State. And also
we're going to get there, but we do know that Zama becomes your only option now because he's the only young person inside the legislature for the ANC Youth League. But another question that arises, PS, is why would you say that remove somebody else in favor of this other person instead of saying that there is a department that you have removed from existence in the Free State, the Department of, in fact, you have bundled two departments. Why don't you unbundle those and give the other department to a to a young person rather than saying that remove the representative of COSATU from the executive?
No, Mr. TT, I think the engagement of the ANC leadership in the province and the Premier through our discussion on the platform that collapsed. The first task that we were briefed about is that the ESCO in the Free State will be reduced to 7. Then, okay, everyone we understood because there are committees in legislature that we also need members of the ANC that are deployed in the legislature to chair some of the committees, so that it becomes easy for us to pass some of the budget that may assist our government to proceed with addressing the issue of service delivery and employment of young people and many other things. But then if you have learned in the Free State, what happened in the process is that the ESCO actually, no one must say the ESCO was reduced. And I think you put it correctly to say there was only one department of DSTIA that was merged with the Department of Finance. So there's nothing that was reduced there. And actually, as the ANC Youth League, we then feel that ANC prioritized COSATU because there are 2 members of COSATU that have been deployed in ESCO. And the other member, we understand that she's more experienced than anyone in that ESCO of Free State, which is Mezanele Sifuba, who she was a speaker before. And we have seen the role of Mezanele Sifuba that she played during election. But then when we come to COSATU, yourself and myself can attest that you hold many interviews of COSATU where they were marching to the provincial government demanding that the ANC remove the then Premier, marching in different local municipalities, Mohokare, Kopano, Litzimen, in Nwate, also where you are, there were issues with the affiliate of COSATU, where there were issues, they were fighting to say the other issues that are not being implemented, and the MM of CFO must also be attended, even in Machabe. And there were critical statements that were made by the provincial secretary of COSATU and the leadership of COSATU to say, if issues of workers are not addressed, they must not campaign for ANC and they must not vote for ANC. And that statement was never retrieved by the leadership. Instead, what the leadership did, they joined the election structures of the ANC campaign on the last 2 weeks, after the Secretary General of the ANC convened them and engaged the leadership of COSATU National, and which we appreciate the wisdom of the General Secretary of COSATU by actually engaging the provincial leadership of COSATU in the Free State province to say they must disengage from what they are doing and address every worker to go back to work and leave this thing that they are doing and focus on defending the revolution. And there was also an intervention which is well known that was done by the former Minister of Culture, which is Tembinka Dimeng, engaging all the stakeholders, including those heads of people who are deployed as executive mayors and your MEC, trying to find a solution because they knew what this thing will compromise and also will affect the ANC voter turnout. And it did exactly what we expected. So what we find it fun is that the ANC leadership in the province find it good to, we can say, to give COSATU or to reward COSATU a position of ESCO while they were anarchy. So we're teaching people that in the ANC, if you want to be rewarded, do anarchy. And say statement that will collapse the ANC and the voter turnout of the ANC, including the ANC to decline seats. As in when we have seen that we have declined from 19 to 16.
But
and we did not decline because of
now
issue of security alone.
I'm sorry about that, but is that your only bargaining chip to say remove the COSATU deployee and put our own? Is there no other way of dealing with this thing?
No, there's a lot of other ways. The leadership of the ANC, they know, and the Premier and the Free State, that they must just, like you have said, they must remove that Department of Distia and separate it from finance from Honorable MEC Toto Makube and put Zama there in the ESCO. Because what I can tell you that also people are not being told the truth here in this province is that we still have other portfolio committees that are going to be chaired by the opposition parties. And the current leadership is still engaging opposition parties to check which opposition parties they can have some agreement with them and work with them so that as and when they go and present their budget and other things, they can be easily processed than to be rejected, because we need those. But then we feel that if they are going to engage political parties and give them other portfolio committees, why don't you give them and give us our MEC and put Zama?
You have previously stated in your other interviews that there is a possibility of staging a demonstration against the Premier if your demands are not met. Can you elaborate on this statement and the reasons behind why you would want to stage a demonstration against the Premier?
No, the demonstration must not be viewed as a demonstration of the Premier alone, because that's why in the interview, if you have listened, we have said there are processes and procedures before and Premier can announce her cabinet that need to be undertaken, which is engaging the stakeholders, engaging the alliance, and as much as at the last, it will be the prerogative of the Premier to appoint the ESCO. But in the Free State province, that thing did not happen. The only thing that happened, hence I'm telling you that the starter was that we agreed in that meeting, okay, the ESCO will be reduced in the Free State. Due to the reason I'm telling you of portfolio committees. When we entered now in other issue to say, this is the presentation that we're giving the Premier to say, who must go where, who must go where, who must go where, then it collapsed. That meeting collapsed because there was no agreement until the NEC deployees in the Free State that are deployed by ANC tried to intervene in a process and it collapsed. And now what happened? The Premier had a meeting with the provincial chair and the secretary. So this thing is not about the Premier alone. It's also about the ANC. That's why we're saying the ANC leadership in our province. Because the Premier now, they opted to have a meeting which does not constitute the process and the procedure that must be followed. With the provincial chair and the provincial secretary, they did their own agreement and they felt that this is good. So we're not staging against the Premier alone.
The provincial chairperson of the Youth League also. The provincial chairperson of the Youth League and the provincial secretary of the Youth League were they excluded from that meeting.
That's why we said that meeting collapsed. There's no meeting. Everyone must not lie here. That meeting collapsed. And ANC leadership tried, NEC deployees who were deployed in the Free State, they tried to intervene. That's why we're saying the only meeting that happened, it was of the provincial chairperson and the secretary and the Premier. And that's why we don't want this thing to be viewed against the Premier alone. That's why we're saying the ANC also.
But have you as a structure, say your officials, try to engage the officials of the ANC, the provincial chairperson and the provincial secretary of the ANC around this matter?
Mr. Let me tell you also, because we've been doing things on down there, engaging leadership, not coming to media. Before election, there was NEC leadership in our province. There was an PC that was we staged in that PC of the ANC before it was supposed to sit. And the provincial chair of the ANC asked us to say, no, comrade, the PS actually wanted to chase us with security there in that meeting of staging, and also threaten us that they will charge us and suspend us for what we are doing. Then the leadership there, who felt that, no, you can't treat the youth league like this. Yes, we can disagree with the approach of the youth league, but let's hear what our young people are saying. Then the provincial chair asked other two officials to go and have a meeting with us, which it was Comrade Toto Makube, the deputy chairperson, and Comrade Matabo, the provincial treasurer. And we have raised our issues as the collective of the provincial executive committee. All officials of the PC were there and PC members. And we submitted our issues and also brought solution in that meeting. And Comrade Toto acknowledged our input and whatever we have raised in that meeting. And also We waited for officials to say they must engage us and they must give us a feedback. But we understood that we're on election mood. That's why we have never made any statement in public. We did those things internally underground without involving the public so that we don't de-campaign the ANC. But I can tell you that that meeting, we have never gotten a response. Even after that, that's why we have opted to say, these people, it seems like whatever we're trying to do and to do it smoothly and with respect, they don't honor it. Actually, they think we are very useless or we are stupid by taking that posture.
And now you also spoke about, in fact, you said we should ask you why you think Zama is a good fit to become part of the executive. Why then do you think specifically Zama is a better person to be deployed in any role there in the executive?
No, thank you, Mr. Titi. Let me explain that thing. Young people first bring unique perspective and ideas on the table, and which may generally not be properly represented by an older generation if we want to engage this issue. And also, young people bring more forward-thinking, radical approach in policy making that may automatically speak to the current crisis that young people are facing in our country and in our province, especially since you know that our province depend mainly on mining economy. And 90% of mines have been shut down in our province. But I can tell you that they did not shut down now. And did not shut down in the time of Premier Ntatemkoli Dukwan. It did not shut down in the premier time of Memantomben. But then we have learned that these people, they don't have innovative and solution that can develop a new strategy of how we can develop our province and restructure our economy in terms of restructure the economy of this province. So we'll continue seeing the same thing. That's why now I'm surprised to say people are saying Comrade Mahlati was a nurse and what to say. Let me tell you, Titi, even if I'm not leading in 2029, bring me in this platform and let's speak about the status of all local hospitals and clinics. And I will tell me what are the changes made. We can bring nurses and doctors and everyone. And not only speaking about the issue of health and many other departments, because if you can check what the leadership of the Free State have done, that's why I'm mentioning all these premiers that they came before to say the only thing that people think that you are trying to restructure the economy of Free State is through tenders, and you can't restructure the economy of Free State through tender because you are not bringing any investment and innovative ideas that can bring solution. Tender is eating within our government coffers, actually. So it's what will happen even in this next 5 years. These people will not bring something new that will be innovative and attract investment in our province. They believe that restructuring economy of the Free State is issuing tenders alone. No, that's not how you do it.
No, but what do you think Zama is going to do in the executive that will represent the aspirations of young people?
Let me tell you first, Mr. Titi, about Zama. Myself and you, yes, we can disagree about what is happening between the war of Russia and Ukraine. But myself and you can speak about the economy of Russia to see how good is it and the impact that they're able to attract. Even if there's war, there's something that other countries they want in Russia. Zama studied in Russia to get his master's in Russia, and Zama is also a vice chancellor. So Zama knows why the economy of Russia is doing good and why everyone is obsessed, even beside what is happening, which we are not supporting Russia on what they are doing because we want peace and stability. Mari, they are able to restructure their economy to be attractive even to those that are opposed to what their stance and what they are doing. So that's why we believe Zama will bring new innovative and solution, and also will bring more radical policy making that will also address the issues of young people that are currently facing the province. And Zama, by the way, is a member of the Council of University of Free State. Zama is a former provincial secretary of students. In the Free State, the issue of bursaries were cancelled. In the Free State, we have young people who are graduate that have been in part of, they've been given learnership and internship for more than 4 or 5 years and 6 years in different departments. I can tell you that those learnership of those young people have been terminated because these people, they don't have ideas what to say. if you give someone leadership, you are giving someone leadership to equip him with experience. So automatically, when you advertise on the issue of experience, it's covered. Because that's why we're saying our issues will not be generally be properly represented by the older generation. That's why we're saying Comrade Zama can enter there and make a difference. Because we know that he understands the struggle and he understands what must happen on these current challenges that we're facing as young people.
Given also now the high tensions that you are sort of presenting your arguments with, does this augur well for for your relations with the ANC leadership in the province, as well as with the premier? Are you going to be received well? Are they going to receive you like somebody who's trying to convince them of a viewpoint rather than somebody who's fighting with them?
No, we're not fighting the ANC. If the ANC leadership if the current ANC leadership in the province, they have led the Youth League, they will not think they were fighting them. But if they have not led the Youth League, they don't understand why the ANC Youth League was formed, they will think that we are fighting them. So unfortunately, we are not fighting them, and we don't have any relationship of personal arrangement with them or with the premier. We have a relationship of advancing issues of young people, ensuring that the ANC in the Free State and the premier and whoever in government address those issues. No personal relations that we're having. So if there are relations that will be messed or whatever, they were not there eventually on the first place. What made us and them to meet, it was an agreement that we need to develop life of young people. And we also need to ensure that young people find expression in leadership position, that's why we was also saying in executive powers and in all corridors of powers in the Free State. So there is no personal relation that we think we're managing. We're not managing any relation with anyone. So anyone want to hang himself or be angry, he must just do
it. Now tell me, are there any meetings planned with either the premier or the leadership of the ANC towards the resolution of this impasse that you have with them anytime soon?
No, let's appreciate firstly to say yesterday, as the Provincial Executive Committee mandated us to request a meeting with officials. And we have met yesterday with and we must say it's only the provincial chair that felt that, okay, no, we can meet the Youth League. Then we met with him. The other officials felt that, okay, it's not important to meet the Youth League, it's fine to them. It's not important. So we're implementing our process. We have a process that we have agreed upon as the Youth League. We're not going to end now. Then this morning, I've written to the Premier of Free State, Mema Queen, requesting that the PEC is requesting to meet with her, a good self, on Friday. Then we are waiting for a response, because also last week I've communicated with the Premier, and she got back to me to say, Premier, the Provincial Executive Committee would like to meet with you so that we understand what you want to achieve and also bring some ideas, but then work together in a process. Then she indicated that, no, there's no problem, I'll call you back. Then now I've written formally to her to say the structure I want to meet with, so that we discuss this issue, the issue of exclusion of Comrade Zama in the Executive Council, and the issue that are affecting young people in general, and how we can work together, bringing solution to her, not just to say we want young people to be hired, because we have seen that relying to ANC, they even make some reckless statement there to say 50,000 young people will be employed without a proper structure and a proper plan how that thing can be done. And it's one of the other things that have also caused us vote that thing, because now we needed to reply as the ANC to say what is happening. So Tina, we have drafted a plan, we have drafted a solution to say what must be done to address issues. That's why we're firm to say one Zama.
Now, you also mentioned the decline of votes in this past election. Now, with the 2026 local government elections approaching, what strategies does the ANC Youth League plan to implement to regain the lost ground and to ensure better support for election structures?
No, actually, as the ANC Youth League, we have also touched on that issue, and I think we'll also invite you, Mr. Titi, to give you the time frame that we have said is a time frame plan that we have said we are going to develop, and we have also tasked Comrade which is Comrade Kato Mangwajani, who's the head of election of the ANC Youth League in the Free State. And there will be a team that I will be deploying as per the instruction of the Provincial Executive Committee to work with Comrade Katleo to develop that plan and how we can ensure that we don't see what happened now in 2024, in 2026. But then also want to say the decline of the ANC, especially in this province, was caused by comrades of purging other comrades who were previously working with other comrades towards the provincial conference of the ANC in this province, and continuously was comrades of the ANC fighting the then premier to say, why don't you remove these people, because they've been working with the former premier and who, and why don't you deal this one and this one? So all those small squabbles and the squabble that also occurred within the current PC of the ANC, which someone who wanted to be contest other position, they have regrouped themselves as a faction in that PC. So everything that need to be convened or discussed, people want to dismantle because they want to make the PC look weak. And that's not the case, because people actually thought that if they enter in position, and which want to appreciate the then premier, who's also the provincial chair of the ANC, and that is also what will be engaging with the current premier, to say, don't allow anyone to say to you, fire HO this, fire this one, because this one is associated with whether Memantombelo or Makachulu or Dukwane. Don't allow that thing. Don't involve people in that thing. Put the program in front of everyone. It's either the person submit towards implementing the program that you are putting. Then if he feels that he will not be part of the program, then remove the person. But let's not create a perception that when new leadership enter, people must be worried about their job and careers. No, that's not what the ANC represent.
So the ANC Provincial Executive Committee is highly factionalized at the moment.
No, it's not highly factionalized. There's nothing highly factionalized. If there are dissenting views in the structure,
I thought that's what you were saying. There are factional groupings within the ANC PEC who are pulling in different directions.
If there are different views in the structure, does not mean it's a faction. I'm saying,
but you said that yourself. You said there are factions within the PEC of the ANC.
No, let me say, put it, if there are different views within the PEC of the ANC, that automatically does not call them a faction. Maybe I've used the wrong word. But to say, Tina, in our own understanding, especially as the ANC Youth League, you will remember that also the ANC Youth League was at some stage disagreeing with each other, even in our PEC. But we'll find consensus on how we can approach things and agree. So we're just asking ourselves to say, why this ANC PEC can't find consensus and way of how they can deal with things, agreeing, than to always disagree with each other.
Now, let's move on to a different matter. Gender-based violence. You know, in the light of the recent incident involving the spokesperson of the ANC Youth League, Piwe Mati, how does the ANC Youth League plan to address the issue of gender-based violence within its ranks and in the broader community?
No, thank you very much. I think you know the stance of the ANC Youth League on the issues of gender-based violence and other programs that were running. That's why we have a subcommittee of peace and stability to address these issues now and then, and to also speak about us, especially as young male leaders, the role that we can play to ensure that we defend our young women and everything, and to speak boldly about this thing. And we've also learned recently about the issue of Comrade Piwe, which she has contacted the Provincial Secretariat Office immediately when he was charged. This thing must be noted as well. Other things we don't play on media first before we resolve them as a structure. Comrade Piwe might have contacted the Provincial Secretariat Office immediately when he was charged and explained his issue on the matter of the current case that he's facing. And he also spoke that he is willing to step aside on the issue. I said, no, Comrade Piwe, let me engage other officials first on this matter, but then go to court, tell me what update me on the process of court on your first appearance. Then after we'll speak. Then he briefed the Provincial Secretariat Office again. Then also the Provincial Executive Committee that was convened on Friday also discuss the process and the procedure that must be followed to address the issue of Comrade Piwe, whereas Comrade Piwe voluntarily step aside without even being forced by the PEC to try to save the integrity of the ANC Youth League, and also to try to save him, because we must not lie, Comrade Piwe is one of the greatest leaders that we are having in the Free State, and which we must not use such challenges that he's facing to destroy him. But we must also not be in support of him, so that we appear that we endorse the GBV currently, which actually there are more killings that are happening in the Free State province. And the ANC Youth League does not derive outside the ANC as much as we have autonomy. So the constitution of the ANC also again bind us. So that's why Comrade Piwe understood very well what he need to be done on the process.
So is Comrade Piwe facing challenges, or is he an abusive leader of the ANC Youth League?
No, I don't think Comrade Piwe is an abusive. I think this thing caught us by surprise, and I don't want us to dwell too much in discussing it, because Comrade Piwe, not personally, as a brother and a friend and a good comrade of him, that we speak too much. I know what he told me, and we are just waiting for court to discuss. That's why I'm saying we don't want to appear that we are protecting Comrade Piwe to condemn gender-based violence. We're against
So
the
at
issue.
the moment, he's on a voluntary step aside.
Yes.
Okay. And what message do you have for young people in the Free State who feel disillusioned by the current political environment generally, in conclusion?
No, I say young people in the Free State, we must desist from being opportunistic. And we're saying young people in the Free State, it's either now or we continue with the culture of this leadership of the ANC or whoever that is in control of resources of government, think that young people can be subjected to 10,000 and everything and divide them on their career call of trying to unite and fight for their space. Because what we are doing, I'm not going to lead the Youth League maybe in next year or in next, even though I'm still young, I still have 3 years in the Youth League, but it's not guarantee I'll lead the Youth League in the coming conference in December or in the next 3 years. All of us who are going to the ANC. What we must do currently, as the current Youth League, we must fight for space of the ANC Youth League, so that even those who would be coming to lead the Youth League, even after 10 years to come, they must know that it's easy for ANC Youth League voice to be heard, and everyone will just implement and take care of the ANC Youth League without even the Youth League fighting and coming to public.
The Provincial Secretary of the ANC Youth League in the Free State, Mayibuye Bangani, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to get clarity on these many issues that you are waging, and we hope that you are successful in your endeavors of representing the young people.
No, thank you very much, Titi, and thank you to everyone who have listened, and good luck with your interview with the desk that does not have a constituency and a constitution.
Which one is that one?
The one that you can't even tell me who's the provincial chair of that desk. At least we'll bring them on the light to come and be known for a while.
Thank you, PS. We are out.